We heard a lot of great perspective about privacy, DeFi, some trends to look out for, and what's really interesting is because we heard it all from the investor lens, right? But now what we're going to do for our next panel is for panel two, we've got how privacy projects, DeFi projects, can tap into privacy. So this is taking a look at DeFi, where it's headed, as well as the privacy implications there, but more so from the project perspective. So we've got a lot of great projects heading up, and I'll be inviting people in now. So just give me 1 second as I bring people in. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Sorry, just inviting a couple of more people. Thanks for making the time. I know we had another one of your team members who is currently apparently on a flight, and so couldn't make it. So thank you very much for stepping in.
Oh yeah, no problem. It's 1:30 a.m. here, but I'm sure everyone is on a different time zone. And
Sorry.
thanks for organizing.
Yeah, our co-founder Shumo, he was doing the presentation at 5 a.m. his time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got to make room, got to make time. Okay, let's see. Invite Maki.
Hi guys, by the way.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. It's a bit early, but it's good.
It's a bit early or it's a bit late?
Yeah, both.
Okay, so we've got.
I can say it's actually on CT is fine. So.
Wait, what time is it where you are?
It's 3:30, almost 3:30 p.m.
Oh, yeah, the sun's out. That's nice. Good for you. I mean, the sun's out here too, so I guess, we're lucky over here. Okay, so we've got Maki coming up, and then I know we have one other person joining us from Parallel, but I can't seem to find him. Okay, so Maki's trying to join. We're trying to figure out how to keep his camera off. Apparently, a camera is required in order to join. Give me just 1 sec. I guess while we wait for Maki to join, as well as you both from Parallel, we can probably just go around the table and just maybe do a quick introduction. Betty, I think you were the first to arrive, so why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me here. So I'm Betty, co-founder of Akala and Karura. So happy to be here, calling in from Auckland, New Zealand.
Nice. Tyrone?
Hi, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. And yeah, very nice to see you. And actually, yeah, Bifrost is as you know, it's substrate-based DeFi protocol to provide the liquidity for pledged assets such as staking derivatives in different cross chains. And we are actually currently doing the Kusama slot auction bidding liquidity protocol, which name is the SLP. And yeah, stay tuned for it.
Cool.
Awesome. Alex.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Alex, the CEO and the founder with the Equilibrium and Gentry teams. So we are creating the all-in-one platform which delivers certain functionality of almost all the DeFi primitives that you can even imagine. So the platform allows for actually earning yields, borrowing, and trading on margin all major cryptocurrencies. They're bridged from blockchains connected with Polkadot and Kusama. So currently we are participating in the crowd loan campaign with our Kusama candidate for the parachain slots. If you're interested, follow us and join the crowd loan campaign.
Awesome. So I think Maki is still joining us, so we'll just wait a little bit for him. And as we're doing this, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Kenny. I'm one of the co-founders of Manta Network, and you guys heard all about us in the keynote, so I won't have to repeat myself there. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And I guess while we're waiting for Maki, we could probably just start the conversation, right? Like I think a really simple question here is, as founders and just people hands-on in projects, I'm curious to know, are you personally concerned about your own privacy when it comes to your transactions, your crypto assets, and what are you really concerned about there? Maybe we can start with Tyrone.
Hi. So cool. So what I'm concerned about my own non-transparency, right? Yeah, for me, actually, my only concern is the same as actually most DeFi users, I think. So although I trust the blockchain, but I don't really want to explore my flow of my funds. So what's the difference that anyone can track you debit, cash flow? So don't you trust the bank you use? But the situation now is that you trust, but the blockchain is traceability, right? So which is the significant feature that cannot be changed, but instead, I can use Mixer to confuse the path of my transactions to avoid the tracer of those followers, and make it not easy for others to trace my actions. But indeed, actually sacrificed a part of my trust to trust the service to mix it, because some of it is actually centralized, because I did transfer my asset to the mixer, right? So that's the method I used, and that's what I concern about my own privacy on the on-chain.
Gotcha. Betty, Alex, anything to add there?
I can take it over. So, the thing is that the world overall has become very transparent, right? So basically everyone knows where you're based, what's your kind of area where you're moving around, and so on and so forth. Because of social media networks and stuff, you're always checking in and everything. But the financial privacy is still with us, right? If it comes to the more traditional banking system. Because literally a few days ago, I actually found myself thinking like, okay, so I'm transferring money to some accounts through like regular banking system, and whether I can look at this account and to find out what's the balance there. Because it's the obvious thing that if you're transferring something on blockchain, you can definitely go to the block explorer to find out what's the balance of that account. So obviously, in the traditional banking system, it's impossible, right? And maybe there is some certain confidence and actually comfort coming from this privacy, which still remains for regular users of regular banks. But on blockchain, it's obviously everything transparent, and we know that each single transaction can be tracked, and eventually, we can think of crypto as of cash in this sense, right? Because you hold the private keys, you always like keeping that these private keys with you, like when you're moving around and stuff. So obviously, I don't feel like comfortable when transactions can be tracked and I can be identified behind these transactions, specifically if it comes to some significant amount of funds, right? And obviously here, certain, privacy issues definitely come up, and we're definitely interested in solving this privacy issues through certain, technology sort of setups and so on and so forth. But another coincide of that is actually regulation, right? Because if you're doing everything super privacy mode, right, and no one can track what you actually did, in this case, certain problems with regulation can be raised, right? And you always need to find the balance between the total privacy and between the transaction which can be private for everyone on the network, but in some special cases they can be revealed to figure out what exactly is going on behind these transactions. That's my perspective on that.
Gotcha. And then Betty, anything to add there? I know we've got quite a few different perspectives from Tyrone and Alex so far.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give an example. What's quite scary is I think this also shows we are in a very early stage of building the blockchain industry, because I think in Web 2, I think everyone is conscious of protecting customers' privacy, but they just don't have the means to actually really protect it, right? Because our data still get leaked. I still get phone calls every day from different salespeople in different industries. But in Web 3, I think there are, I saw one case where in a Web3 decentralized social network, it's quite cool that you can link up your identity using your private key, but all of a sudden your net wealth exposed as well, with your photo and then how much you own in different coins. And that's a bit awkward and quite embarrassed. But I think it's just because we're very early on and everyone is trying to piece different puzzles together. And that's probably also the beauty of Polkadot, where each one of us sitting here, we are specialized in a particular area, because it's just not possible to just build anything that's generalized but still very secure, right? Which we have experimented in the past era of blockchain, that you run generalized networks and you experiment a whole bunch. But if you want to do something really great, that takes everyone here and also more in the Polkadot ecosystem and beyond, I guess, to be able to build really cool infrastructure, and then all the infrastructure can actually link up together, that we can have great DeFi applications, plus it's privacy preserved, plus all the other desirable features that users want. So yeah, so thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that gets into a really interesting topic, because you had mentioned how early we are in DeFi right now, right? And I'd like to better understand exactly what each and every one of your visions are in terms of what DeFi looks like 3 to 5 years from now. But before we get to that, right, I know Yuba has joined us, and Yuba, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and your project. And the question we're passing around right now is, what's been kind of your personal experience with on-chain privacy?
Jubo. I'm the founder of Parallel Finance. We are building DeFi solutions on Polkadot network. And when previously, I've been in the crypto space for the last 4.5 years doing investments and then developments. My personal experience with privacy on-chain would be the fact that we had a lot of issues with exposing the transactions and net worth. Sometimes I would say that the transactions are very secretive, and we don't want everyone to see it, especially with some deals with some parties that we have, NDAs or agreements. But obviously, as long as we expose that information, especially the transaction hash on chain, then there's no way we can get it back. it is very different than because it is information. Once exposed on the internet, then it is there. And then another experience that I had is basically linking up the investors for certain projects. So sometimes I think it's very easy to connect the trades on chain with respect to the previous project they invested or the type of transaction they have done. So cross those informations, you can find specific, or very likely you know who that person is behind the accounts, especially with the Ethereum account model. The UTXO model seems better, but still there's a lot of way to track it. So that's sort of my personal experience with investments, and a lot of information get leaked.
Gotcha. So it sounds like a lot of this privacy stuff really is going hand in hand with some of your own experiences with, I guess, not just on-chain transactions, but DeFi specifically. But before we get into that topic, right, like I know there's been quite a few community questions as well around, what is, I guess, just your vision in general about where DeFi is headed? What do you think that we're missing right now, which defines us as early stage, early days? And Betty, you had kind of described it that way, so I'll let you take the floor first for that one.
Yeah, so I think we're definitely headed towards a multi-chain and also a scalable, composable future. Because right now, we either try to squeeze everything in one platform and we can't scale, or we are all doing separate things separately. But I guess that's where Polkadot is bringing all of us towards, right? I can imagine once Polkadot launches, I think all of us here, we're still at the infrastructure level of building a lot of the building blocks. I can imagine, once we all connect up and we launch our parachains, then it's sort of the layer 2, like folks who's building the actual applications can actually, for example, one click to bring Bitcoin and then land onto Akala and then cross over to maybe Manta or some privacy chains, and you turn your transaction into a privacy transaction or privacy coin, and then you can start earning yield or doing all sorts of various different stuff on these chains without even the users knowing you have already crossed multiple chains. Just like today, we're doing this crowdcast. I just click one button and I'm streamed. But behind the scene, there are many, many services that I have been using, right? So we are still at the stage of building all the individual services for the streaming that we are enjoying today. So it takes a lot of effort for each one of us to be really good at what we do, but also be able to, connect to each other and then, empower more applications built on top of us.
Awesome. I'll say that, and I'm sure anyone who's tried to run a crowdcast event in the past will agree that it's much more than just a click of a button with crowdcast. There's always all sorts of things that kind of pop up and you're trying to put out little fires. But I think overall the analogy was very appropriate. So I guess, Alex, what do you think? Do you agree with Betty's perspective, right? Or are you thinking about a different future for DeFi?
Makes sense, and a lot of aspects I actually also wanted to bring up, specifically the multi-chain approach to building DeFi applications, and I'm sure that boundaries between networks will be eventually erased thanks to layer 0 solutions like Polkadot and other networks. So I'm sure that the future is definitely interoperable and cross-chain. On the other hand, we see the clear trend for creating the all-in-one DeFi platforms, like the most of them appearing on different blockchain networks, including Polkadot, like our colleagues from, per se, Akala, Karura, and also Parallel, by the way. We are also striving to build up the platform which will include multiple use cases rather than just building some niche products. And I think that it actually taking roots from maybe early movers in the DeFi space, like, for example, Synthetics or even MakerDAO. They also were working on building up some conglomerates of DeFi products, like they were building own exchange, stablecoin, and so on and so forth. They ended up with just stablecoin, seems like that. But anyways, like I think that the future belongs actually to the project that will be uniting all these use cases, right? And I think the major goal for the current DeFi projects that are just entering the markets or maybe even more established, whatever, since it's still very early days for the industry, the main goal for us is the user acquisition and defining your space in the overall crypto space, right? Where exactly you're operating, onboarding as many users as you can, get more liquidity traction, so on and so forth. Because eventually, when it comes to some Cambrian explosion of DeFi, when we'll eventually get the mass adoption, you will be in the right place in the right time with all the efforts that you have put into your platforms. And actually, maybe just one more thing that I wanted to mention in this connection. So if it comes to like the perspective on 3-4 years, we definitely will see more regulation coming into this space, right? And I'm sure that we'll touch multiple times on that during today's conversation, specifically with regards to privacy. But eventually, it will be sort of symbiosis between the actual DeFi, maybe more traditional banking products and institutions and stuff. And from the user perspective, the eventual DeFi protocols will have everything under the hood. The user will never know which technology backs the system. The one thing that they just need to know that it's reliable, secure, and actually can bring certain value to that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think definitely when it comes to product maturity and I guess just market maturity, right? Like having those layers of abstraction are definitely important because then that kind of speaks towards the overall user experience, right? Being able to use things as a utility, right? Having to just flick the lights on and not have to worry about where the electricity is sourced from, right? That's sort of the convenience that we should be going towards as well. And so I guess, for you, Bo or Tyrone, it seems like one of the resonating themes here is the overall idea of composability, interoperability in the future of DeFi. Do you guys agree? Do you guys have additional perspective on that?
I totally agree with that. I think just to add on to the points from Betty and Alex, one of the things that I think the future DeFi should have is a very robust insurance systems. Currently, the DeFi market has been hacked in this year over, I think, close to billions of dollars after the massive $600 million hack, and it has been increasing over time, especially on top of especially the fact that more and more people try to yield farm on multi-chains. So in order to have, I think, massive adoptions, we definitely need to have a better insurance payoff scenarios. And that actually requires to have a higher levels of composabilities, on-chain data acquisition, and then a very robust and high performance computation on chain in order to calculate the price, in order to detect the claim assessments, to make it more decentralized. On the other hand, I feel like the future of DeFi should have a very or should at least provide optionalities for privacy. The true financial freedom shouldn't be exposed or at a cost of or own information being exposed and can be hidden. So it should have an optionality for that, and people could actually pay a fee, or at least there will be a premium for the privacy optionality, and that would be definitely the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the concept of regulatory compliance, these are all things that kind of have to intersect with the conversation around privacy. And then it seems like you also tend to agree about the general interoperability concepts. I'm curious to know, Tyrone, what do you think 3 to 5 years from now, DeFi? it's interoperable, but what else?
Right. I'm totally agree with with you guys, and I think indeed that the privacy is for sure is necessary for us, and in the next 3 or 5 years, and what we need to do is that I think that the government mentioned about the Polkadot actually is ecosystem to bring up with alien chain in it with the governance and enterprises level of blockchain. So in the future, actually, I think we need a flexible privacy solution to consider the future of the cryptocurrency world or the blockchain world. Is this privacy solution should be actually inclusive, and it can achieve complete privacy and hide the user's transaction identity and transaction amount, and at the same time either considering needs of enterprises and supervision. So users can also choose the accountability privacy mode to maintain transaction in the system, or I can choose not even show any of my information on chain. So it is accountable and traceable to the meet of requirements of real world, some such as KYC scenarios for some centralized exchange or decentralized exchange as well. So yeah, that's my idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a really interesting concept because, I think one of the really big challenges of user experience is once you introduce this idea of choice, right? Like, because every time you give the users optionality, that's another friction, right? That's another point in time where they kind of slow down and decide which sort of path to take. And, I know composability, privacy, thank you guys, and user experience regulation seem to be all resonating themes here, and it sounds like those are some of the key areas that we need to tackle before we can really call this space mature. I'd like to go down a little bit deeper onto the user experience side, right? And this kind of crosses into composability because, when we hear composability and we hear interoperability and we hear layer twos, right? Like, let's really try to boil this down and try to understand exactly what the difference is here, right? Because like for me, as a yield farmer, the yield farmer side of me, I go on, I don't know, Ethereum and some layer twos, and I yield farm on the layer twos, and you've got to swap to different networks and all this other stuff. And once you do it 3 to 5 times, then it becomes less intimidating than before. But for the average user, right, just hopping to a layer 2 is still extremely intimidating, right? Like, I guess because we're all, sort of substrate based projects here, and we're all thinking about interoperability, right? Like from the user experience side, do you see really a big difference between how people are hopping from, ETH to layer 2s right now versus how, the Polkadot substrate ecosystems will be interacting? And do you think it'll be a better user experience? I know it's a pretty heavy question, but Alex, you look like the kind of person that can answer this, so I'll let you go first.
I'll try all my best. So the thing is, like, we at Equilibrium and Gentile, we're standing for better user experience by far, and we always stick to sleek interfaces and better user flows within our product line that we're building. Like we do have a lot of on our plate, that we have a lending platform, we have the decentralized exchange, which is based on the order book. So overall, it's complicated itself. But if we add to that the complexity of network transactions, that actually will make things even more sophisticated for the average users by far. So actually, like we think that even with the current developments of the substrate framework and the current development of Polkadot and Kusama, the user experience it actually can be improved, right? Because first of all, like the one pain point is switching between wallets, right? So the average Ethereum user actually got used to working with MetaMask, and just maybe the most complicated thing that the average DeFi user on Ethereum can do is just with MetaMask is to add some custom network into that and do constant switching between that. In the case of user experience and interaction with parachains and substrates, besides that, they will need to, at least if they're using desktop applications, they will need to install the additional extension which will leverage the substrates and the parachains, which already a little bit sensitive thing, because not that many people actually want to install something additionally to what they already have, right? So I'm actually looking into integration of substrates and parachains into MetaMask in this sense. I know that EVM, like those who are actually delivering the functionality of EVM on their parachains, they actually, some of these projects, like for example, Plasm and Moonbeam, they've been working on these integrations, and eventually it seems like it will make the user experience more seamless, right? But still, I think that there's a lot of things to improve from the user standpoint.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just one thing I wanted to add to that. So we recently launched our Jinchir developments into production as a standalone substrate, because we're still pending to get the slots on Kusama. And we actually have launched that with alongside with our bridges that we have developed with Ethereum and BEC networks, and we already have this hands-on experience in bridging. Overall, it actually works well, right? If we don't take into account obviously Ethereum cost of transactions on Ethereum, right? With BEC, it's pretty sleek, right? Like the transaction looks very beautifully perfect without any kind of delays and stuff, and very cheap at the same time. But again, this switching between networks, switching between wallets, extensions, still can be complicated.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one point that you brought up that I really resonated with was the wallet adoption on MetaMask, right? With the ERC20 supported chains. I've been playing around a lot with Moonriver, and the experience is fairly seamless there, but only because I'm so familiar with MetaMask, right? I already see that one of the comments from the audience here is that user experience is crucial, but the Polkadot wallet interface is not so user friendly. I think definitely Polkadot is in its early stages, and so we've got a long way to go there. But I mean, I think apart from Polkadot.js, there's a lot of third-party services that are starting to build out wallet products as well. We had I guess the fortunate experience of talking with Fearless Wallet just this week, and I've been playing around with their wallets, and it's been a pretty good experience, especially for a mobile wallet experience. And so I'm pretty excited about that. But getting back to the question of user experience with the composability aspect of Polkadot and how it's so unique. Really curious to know from your perspective, Betty, because Akala has been doing a lot of these sort of composability tests, right? I know we just completed one a couple of weeks ago, and I guess right now, right, it's still fairly on the technical back end side, but how do you see this manifesting on the front end to make it really easy for the users?
When I say user, I always think of people like my mom and dad or my uncles. I think in the remainder of my life, I don't think I can actually help them to even manage ledger, even regardless how cool MetaMask may be, or how Polkadot.js might evolve to be. I don't think that's their thing, and they represent 99% of the population on the planet. So if we're gonna get there to let everyone actually be able to use all the stuff we use, we're gonna cross that chasm, right? I think using a wallet and even directly interact with all the chains here, we're still talking about we're early adopters. We still have the concept of the cross-chain. I think when we get to the level of mass adoption, there's no concept of blockchains. You're basically transparent to all the chains per se. Like on Polkadot, I think when people say Polkadot.js is clunky, they mean just the UI. But when you're talking about interaction with multiple chains, compared to MetaMask, you have to switch to different blockchains to use, right? And then the Polkadot.js already gone through the technical upgrade where the chain concept is very minimalized because you have one set of keys. There's no switch off network. If you land on any of the front end that the network that built, obviously we're still early stage. You already arrive at a different blockchain, right? So there's no this thing as let me upload my asset or let me download my assets like the layer 2s that's been building elsewhere, because there's a difference between bottom-up approach and a top-down approach. Polkadot is a by design architecture. So Gav, when he left Ethereum, he thought about all the stuff, the pain points that existed in the platform that he developed, like the EVM, the Solidity platform. And when he designed Polkadot, all of those pain points, he basically addressed, right? And then we already test all of those on Kusama, everything actually works. So, but the bottom-up approach is currently the iterative approach, right? So you hit a wall, you step back, and then you try a different route. Oh, there's a hole, let me patch it. This is basically what happened on, Ethereum and also all the other platforms that try to help, right? Basically, everybody's trying to help to Ethereum to scale up. And then you realize everyone arrived at the same conclusion because like even the hottest chain today is like Polygon, right? They literally reference like, Polkadot is the best design and they are using exactly the same architecture. It's just when they doing the consensus, it uses, potentially Ethereum. They're only like talking about it in white paper, of course. And the difference would just be, the Polkadot team has spent 3 years building it. So, and then, I think it's very cool that everyone, either through experiment or through, thinking and design thinking, we all arrive at similar sort of thoughts about where the future would be, is this seamless internet of blockchain world that we are all trying to build. And then hopefully one day we no longer have this concept of chains. It's like, my mom going shopping. She's probably just like swipe the card and then pay for groceries, but she didn't realize she already passed, the privacy chains behind the background. Maybe she's using some of my Bitcoin savings, which is earning a dot staking yield, and then doing some sort of fancy things converted back into dollars. But she doesn't realize all the stuff that happened, behind the scene. She just swiped the card and bought the eggs. So I think that's more of the future that I would like to see rather than stay at where we are. But that's why we're here, right? Every one of us here is trying to build towards something like that in the future. So, yeah.
Definitely. And just a point of clarification for the audience, I think when Betty said that her mom is buying eggs, it's like physical eggs, not the NFT eggs. Just in case anyone's confused, but there's also
could be both or rocks.
Yeah, 5 years from now, your mom can buy NFT eggs, no problem.
Yeah, she's converted from getting diamonds, and yeah.
Oh man, but I think another point that is kind of brought up is just like the on ramp for the 99%, right? Like right now. The people here, we've all kind of arrived at the same conclusion, which is why we're all building on Substrate. And so definitely, Betty pointed that out. But also, for the rest of the world, for the moms and dads and the grandparents out there who are intimidated by the idea of alphanumeric wallet addresses, right? Like there's still that sort of on-ramp that we need to figure out. And with Polkadot being a new ecosystem, right, like there's not really a such a direct on-ramp to Polkadot without having to potentially go through other chains, go through centralized exchanges, right? And like we're a bunch of different DeFi projects here. And so I'm sure that the conversation about, thinking about on-ramps has been discussed. Curious to know, how you guys think about it. Is this something that is in your product roadmap? And, if so, like, what are some of the challenges around that? And I don't know which one of you guys are thinking about on-ramps, so I'll leave it up to you to decide who wants to answer or take the first stab at it.
I think Betty can take over then.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, this was just my